Campaigns for the 2019 general elections have kicked off in earnest, and as expected, fireworks are already loading and exploding in political circles in Nigeria. Presently, new alliances are being formed, with old ones either broken or rejigged as the case might be. While in some political gatherings, permutations and combinations are rife as to who stands a better chance with who, or what region or divide holds all the aces in the game with the hashtag Vote for Me. It's all good. Like a pain in the palm, the education sector keeps drawing attention as yet another academic union set down their tools in an indefinite strike, while a verdict of indictment seeks to deflect the gallant efforts of security forces in the fight against insurgency in the Northeast. Some of the topics in the front burner. Welcome to Nigeria Today. I am Charles Ibe. Over 30 presidential candidates at the last count, including the incumbent President Muhammadu Buhari, are gunning for the exalted seat of the presidency, and Nigerians have been having an earful of what they intend to do or otherwise to gather the total number of votes required by law to be declared the number one man or woman in Nigeria. Now, a coalition of 41 united political parties earlier announced a consensus candidate in the flag bearer of the major opposition party, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party. But before the candidate could raise his glass in a pre-victory toast, dissenting voices within the coalition began to emerge.
NDCP and Dr. Johnson Edosama will not support the endorsement of the candidate that was chosen by CUPP, which was a coalition of all the political parties. And we want a country where justice is for all, and freedom for all, and equality for all. And we want a new Nigeria that will change these kind of things. And we want people to be very responsible in the way they behave. And the process of rigging and then behind the scene, doing what you do should not be tolerated by Nigerians, nor by CUPP or its leadership. I was very disappointed, and I remain very disappointed, that the MOU was not followed, and that what we had thought that would be a fair process turned out to be nothing but, a cabal of people coming together to endorse a candidate.
Does that signal an end to a coalition that the ruling party had at inception tagged dead on arrival? Perhaps not, as the spokesperson of the coalition and chieftain of the Action People's Party, Ikenga Imo Ugochinyere, thinks otherwise.
This agreement was treated between parties, not candidates, and we expected that parties in the alliance will have control, on their candidate, or their candidate was appointed to the spirit and letters of this accord. So, surprisingly, at the end of the day, this process was completed. SDP, you participated in all of it, and then overwhelmingly Atiku emerged. Then at the end of the day, you say you don't want to pull it. The question I will ask you, were you in that alliance because you wanted to be VP or SGF, or were you in that alliance because you are committed that the nation needs rescue? Because if he came to that table that this country needs to be rescued, then you should have known that whether you get VP or you didn't get VP, that you would have continued with the project. But it means that they put their personal interest above the national struggle. And in the coalition, there is no provision for personal interest being above the national. All of us are committed to the national struggle, which is to rescue the country. And then with or without them, like I said, that the withdrawal is inconsequential because this process has ended and you completed for this process to the last minute. So your withdrawal has no basis, it has no effect, and that this withdrawal will not take anything from the coalition. Because even some SDP, senatorial and rep candidates already committed, even with or without their party leadership.
To the candidates and their supporters, whatever the divide, the game is on, and you must play by the rules. Now, the National Assembly, in its wisdom, tried to reset the rules of play for the 2019 general elections by making some amendments, which it believes would make the electoral process more credible, with less rancor. But the president, in his wisdom, has said no, 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 and no 4 times to the amendment bill, and people have been having their say across the divides.
If Inec is independent, with the 2015 bill, which they have, which they used in conducting the previous election, I think it could still serve for this purpose. The most important thing is having a credible election. Now, regarding the opposition shouting, I'm not a party person. I'm not in the PDP, I'm not in the ACN, I'm not in the APC, neither in any of those parties. But I feel as a concerned Nigerian, the National Assembly had a duty to have sat down from the very inception to have considered this bill, not sending it at the last minute and ensuring or insisting that the president, he has a veto power to either sign or not to sign. He just demonstrated his power. If they had wanted this thing passing into law, I'm sure in the first 2 years in the National Assembly, they would have done something and sent to the president. So right now, we just look for issues. We are looking for reasons to talk about. I would suggest if they want to exercise their veto, let them go ahead and see what they can do, based on the fact that they need a 2/3 majority.
I think not signing the bill definitely will not give good name to Nigerians. I don't think it will give credibility to the election we are hoping to conduct next year. If I were to advise, I think I would advise the president to sign the bill for one or two reasons. One, to create the impression that he has no intention to manipulate the electoral processes and the election.
If the bill is signed, it will do us a great deal in this country, because it will help us to eliminate some uncultured things that comes with our election in Nigeria. First, the issue of the underage voting, the issue of this incident form, and this non-recognition of fingers and others. If we have that what we call the card reader, it will be able to help us. I read from the media that he said the time that the Inec will not be able to implement. Sign is leave the timing to the Inec. We have procedure already. We have been using card reader. It's just that they have not compelled it to be used compulsorily. But now if you sign, Inec now knows that they are going to use it compulsorily. So why are you not citing the timing? If it is the timing that is making him rejecting the amendment B, it's nothing. So the National Assembly has to go ahead and veto that electoral act.
The President, Mr. Buhari, I believe that he's a man of integrity. He claims to be a man free of corruption. He should, of a necessity, sign this bill that will improve the Inec electronic system to move us forward as a nation, as the greatest black nation of the world, to place us so that the entire process, both the opposition, both those that are in ruling party, both those that are overseas, they should see that it's transparent enough, is fair enough, and there's no room for any complaint. So I want to encourage the President sincerely that he should, without hesitation, sign the bill that will move this nation as a whole as a better improvement from the previous experiences.
I think he should sign this bill so that the issue of incident form, the issue of underage voting, and so many things that have degraded our integrity as a nation would be removed. It is something that is supposed to aid our electoral process and free us from the shackles of the past.
Well, could it be perhaps the case of what an old man sees sitting down? Figure it out yourself. The program continues after this break.
You don't do. I don't tire for all the things where you dey yarn.
Lord don dey right.
You dey yarn no pata. Shey you think say na only you fit buga? I go show you.
This matter don't pass, be careful.
You dey show yourself all these years, I just dey look you. This time, you go know the kind of person we are.
I been dey watch as you dey try scatter my future.
The future where I dey try
organize for myself.
Small. Na him you dey try kill, abi?
Na to kill, scatter, and destroy my pearls always dey your agenda, abi? Oh, but you know, Fito, not this time.
I don't set my own agenda.
I know how way your agenda go fit past my agenda.
Because my agenda strong past your agenda.
For this election, the agenda now.
It's our future.
No violence.
Just vote.
Set the agenda for this election. No violence, just vote.
Thanks for being there. Now, the electoral umpire, the Independent National Electoral Commission, Inec, has continually stated that it is prepared to give Nigerians a free, fair, and credible elections come 2019. But one factor which have always played a subtle role in the Nigerian electoral process gained prominence in the Edo State gubernatorial elections in 2016, reached a higher level of recognition at the Ekiti gubernatorial elections, and which has ever since been a cankerworm in the credibility of the nation's electoral process, is the big issue of vote buying. Now, to some politicians with means and no scruples of popularity, it might be the last resort, while serving as an albatross to some grassroots politicians with no means and a hard nut to chew for security agencies and, of course, the judiciary. It was a major topic for lawmakers at a special sitting in Abuja recently.
Vote buying, by whatever means, remains one of the contemporary challenges that mar the electoral process. We must deal with this ill such in a manner that it does not detract from the credibility and legitimacy of the 2019 election.
Undue influence of voters have always existed in different forms all over the world. However, the recent phenomenon of direct pricing and buying of votes, as if in an open market square, is very disturbing. It is one of the highest forms of corruption.
The responsibility of addressing the menace of vote buying and improving electoral process is not only the duty of the legislature, but the executive, the judiciary, Inec, police, the army, the political parties, and indeed all relevant stakeholders. So therefore, we must lay a solid foundation for a true democracy.
It is sad to note that currently, it appears that winning election in Nigeria now is anchored on money. Huge sums of money and other materials are now needed to buy votes from vote sellers in an organized form. It has become the ritual, especially in the rural areas, suburbs, and other places that are difficult for government officials and agencies to monitor. Some politicians give cash, some give materials. However, this phenomenon is not limited to any part of the country. It is a nationwide negative syndrome that needs to be tackled squarely.
It's even the voters that are even chasing the sellers. It's even the voters that are now chasing the buyers. So if you want to solve the problem of vote buying, you must be prepared. The government will be told to provide food for Nigerians, to provide basic essentials.
Well, elections is serious business. Perhaps that explains why desperate politicians apply the business angle of buying and selling to the electoral processes. Smart moves or not, the law frowns at it. And while there may be some lacuna in the legislation against vote buying, as noted by some schools of thought, perhaps citizens might have the preferred solution to the hydra-headed monster being fed and nurtured by greed and avarice.
The final solution is on the people, and that is why the opposition is talking about opposition code 20. It's not an invitation to war or crisis, no. All we are saying that in a situation where, men of dishonor and bandits have taken over our land and willing to kill and maim our people, are we going to go home and sleep and allow them run straight into the heartbeat of our nation's treasure? That what we are going to do, within the provision of Section 20 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, that gives citizens powers to perform some aspect of police functions, which is arresting somebody who is committing an offense in your presence, that will mobilize our people in all the pulling unit and ward, that anybody sharing money, because I've seen that they have packed and stolen a lot of money. That's why you see billions of dollars missing in NNPC, missing in NPDC, missing in NLNG. They have stolen it because they want to use it to buy vote. Now, what we need to do is to wait for them on the door of election. Mobilize our people. Once you see them sharing money in the community, descend on them and grant the money. The law gives you the power, and deliver them to the nearest police station. It is within your right to seize them because the offense is being committed in your presence, as spelled out under Section 20 of the Administration of Criminal Justice, including a doubt. So you can put yourself in a team and ensure that the right thing is done. It's not an invitation to violence, but it's an invitation to reduce the possibility of violence and men of dishonor overrunning our people.
Well, he did say something. Catch them and hand them over to the police and law enforcement agencies. And if they have deep pockets, your guess might be as good as yours, not mine. But I dare say, penalties for vote buying should be made stiffer to serve as a deterrent, and perhaps some electoral intelligence by law enforcement agencies in the form of sting and covert operations might go a long way in checking incidences of vote buying in the nation's electoral processes.
You don't do. I don't tire for all the things where you dey yarn.
Lord, don't be right.
You the yarn no pata. Shey you think say na only you fit buga? I go show you.
This matter don't pass, be careful.
You dey show yourself all these years, I just dey look you. This time, you go know the kind of person we are.
I've been the watch as you dey try scatter my future.
The future where I dey try
Organize for myself.
Small. Na him you dey try kill abi?
Na to kill, scatter, and destroy my purpose always dey your agenda, abi? Oh, but you know Fito, not this time.
I don't set my own agenda.
I know how where your agenda go fit pass my agenda.
Because my agenda strong past your agenda.
For this election, the agenda now.
It's our future.
No violence.
Just vote.
Set the agenda for this election. No violence, just vote.
To demonstrate this improvement as we approach the 2019 general election. I have here in my hand the sample ballot paper for the presidential election in 2019. It's a sample and a specimen. The security features are not here. The color will change. In any case, we'll also produce this for voter education and publicity. But this is the sample of the ballot paper to be used for the 2019 general election. You know we don't use envelopes. And so we have a problem, as I said earlier, that as the voter travels between the voting cubicle and the ballot box, he or she exposes the marked ballot paper, sometimes with the intention of showing these to agents of the vote buyers. But in 2019, the ballot papers will be given rolled up to the voter. How is the ballot paper going to be rolled up? We are going to start from the top, and it's going to be rolled up like this. So once a voter is accredited, he is given the ballot paper all right. We are going to introduce quick dry Ipac, so that will eliminate the risk of smashing and spoiling the ballot paper. And because you roll it from the top, if you roll it this way, suppose you mark the first box and you roll it this way, there is no way the ink is going to touch the box or logo of any political party. It will only touch the back of the ballot paper. And once it is done like this, and the voter votes in the voting cubicles, he is supposed to flatten the ballot paper like this. It's flattened. And by the time the voter emerges from the voting cubicle, he will emerge with something like this, that nobody will know which party he shall be. Before then, the ballot paper is dropped into the ballot box. We'll train our presiding officers on that. We'll do tremendous voter education on that. And that is what we'll do in the 2019 general elections.
leadership is a factor in this regard to the success of the fight against the Boko Haram terrorists. And then you look at also the factor of morale.
Away from politics, human rights body the Amnesty International recently accused the Nigerian military of, among other things, shielding senior officers who misused power in the course of prosecuting the Boko Haram war and called on the International Criminal Court, the ICC, to investigate the allegations against the Nigerian army. While the army has come out to dismiss the allegations as a campaign of calumny, a coalition of civil rights groups believes that the brave and noble efforts of the men of the Nigerian army in the fight against insurgency in the Northeast in the past 6 years must not be allowed to be eroded by actions of Amnesty International.
The Coalition on Conflict Resolution and Human Rights in Nigeria is not taken in by the likes of Amnesty. We therefore insist that Nigerian military has committed no war crime against humanity. They should leave the Nigerian army alone to do its job of securing Nigeria from terrorists. From the much we have seen, the goal is to, 1, erode international support for the Nigerian military so that they are unable to get the needed collaboration to fight terrorism and other serious criminal acts.
The federal government of Nigeria should work with the military to fashion a long-term containment measure for attenuating the damages that Amnesty International's activities in Nigeria are caused. The intelligence community should be mandated to expose the true nature of Amnesty International's mission in Nigeria. Any revelation from this must be made known to Nigerians because they deserve to know the truth about an organization that has evolved into the greatest threat to their lives.
We have had enough of its destabilizing lies, and we are saying Amnesty International must leave now.
Nigerians should always provide for the military and security forces the moral support and intelligence it needs at this critical time to ensure a complete annihilation of insurgency so that normalcy can return to troubled spots in the Northeast and elsewhere in Nigeria. The job has to be done, and it is a resounding no to all forms of distractions, allegations, and damning reports against the gallant efforts of men of the Nigerian army. That's Nigeria Today. Thanks for watching. I am Charles Ibe.
But we must be a shining light for the African nation. We must be a shining light for the West social community. So for us, we have decided that incident 4 should not even be a part of our election process. It's going to set us back. It's going to withdraw us back. The decision I read here before you is a decision taken at the General Assembly of the Council of Interparty Advisory Council that we will work with the Commission to make sure that processes, every meeting that is held, these processes are clearly defined and our engagement status are clearly defined. And as a principal stakeholder in the electionary process in Nigeria, the political party, we must be seen to be involved in how these elections are designed, how these elections are representing the wishes and aspirations of our people.